Next item is 11B. We're on district reports. 11B1 is report regarding facilities, maintenance, and operation projects. Dr. Gonzalez?
Yes, sir. We have our monthly report from FMO. Mr. Trevino will guide us through this month's projects, and this item is for information purposes only.
Good evening, members of the board. Dr. Gonzalez. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I'll be presenting on our monthly FMO ongoing projects and completed projects. On the first page on our ongoing projects, we've got our intercom replacements, which are 9. They're ongoing already at Wilson, Alvarez, Brown, Fossum, Fields, and Perez will follow, along with Garza, Gonzalez, and Hendricks. Our Veterans Memorial Press Box project is also ongoing. There are meetings currently being held. We've got a meeting planned for this Wednesday with the City of McAllen, plus 2 more additional meetings with the general contractor or CM at risk and our design team to continue working on this project. We also have the fire alarm replacements, which are 6 of them that are ongoing at Castañeda, Navarro, Jackson, Cathy, Crockett, and Travis. Also ongoing are portable renovations over at staff development. We're pending the final fire alarm piece for this portables, and we'll be ready and fully completed on the fire alarm system for these portables. Our next page is our Agricultural Learning Center, which is in progress. We've got most of the plumbing in place already. The building pad has passed inspection already as well, and concrete is being scheduled as we speak. We had some delays, of course, with weather last week, but they're at it again, and you can see the progress on some of the pictures on this slide here. Our next slide is our completed projects. Here we have a picture of our Mackay baseball fence, which is now fully completed. FMO went ahead and did all the final touch-ups on it. Signs are back up. We've got the full 10-foot section in the back and the safety line along the top. We also have the Memorial High School welding shop, which is now fully completed with the ventilation system that FMO went ahead and installed in-house. There was some modifications to the Jackson front office that are now complete as well. We also have the McAuliffe front office safety area that is now complete, and the Lamar restroom partitions are now fully complete as well. On our upcoming projects, we have the Mackay door replacements. Those doors are already on order. They should be arriving within the next few weeks so that the contractor can start working on that project. The memorial roof, we presented that already and is upcoming. The row softball lighting, that has been bidded out and will be presented for approval in our next meeting. The Mackay HVAC upgrades phase 2, that's a board agenda that's coming up later on in the agenda. The HVAC upgrades at Row and Lamar, those are at 95% on design, and we'll be ready to approve those at the end of this week to proceed with bidding those projects out. The Travis Middle School roof is in the same stage as well, being finalized on design, as well as our Houston Elementary School roof upgrades. And our district water fountains are on schedule to be delivered February the 28th. In the next by the end of this week or next week, we should see some of them starting to get installed district-wide. Our next slide is the Memorial Tennis Court upgrades resurfacing. This project will be substantially complete tomorrow at noon. I walked the courts this afternoon with Coach Littleton, Coach Elizondo from tennis, the general contractors on the job, as well as the engineer and myself. Everything seemed in order. Just a couple of minor touch-ups that will be done tomorrow morning, and the team is excited, and coaches as well. They're ready to use them, so they'll be able to use them tomorrow by noon or after lunch. Our next slide is the air purification systems. We have gone out for quotes on this particular 2 models that we see here. We are issuing a purchase order as early as tomorrow to the company, and these These items will be installed by our FMO HVAC team. So they will be receiving a minor training that will be provided to us by the vendor, the awarded vendor. And we will be installing these in all of our campuses. Hopefully by the end of this week will be the beginning of it. And our last slide is the work order submitted and completed for the month of January, 538 and 257. And this concludes my report.
Okay, questions, and I have Trustee Suarez front. Sir?
Okay, Ruben, I'm going to try to go in order. The fence at Mackay, I noticed that the shape is a little different. Did we cut off some of center field?
We talked about that. We ran that by athletics. The coaches requested that. Apparently, the Mackay baseball fence was, I want to say, at 440 feet at the center, and our other two baseball fields are at 410, 415. So that puts all three baseball fields with the same size on the exterior fence.
Just to let you know, that cost me 3 home runs when I was in high school, but that's okay.
Okay.
All right. No, I just noticed. I noticed the shape was different. That's why I was asking.
Yes, no, that was a request from the coaching staff, and we verified, and it could be done. So we didn't have any issues with doing that.
Okay, perfect. The next was the softball lights at Row. Are those going to be installed while the season is going on, or how does that work?
That is correct. They are going to start working on them while season is in play, and it should not delay any playing, any games, or anything. Part of the work is that the old poles will not be removed until the new ones are functioning properly.
Okay. Lights at Memorial High School, the tennis court. Those lights are provided by the city of McAllen?
I want to say yes. Years back, the city of McAllen entered into a MOU, and that became our second set of tennis courts to be made public, to be used by the public in the evenings.
So right now we have McAllen has an agreement with McAllen High School, one with Memorial High School, but we do not have lights for the citizens or the people that live here in the Row area. Am I correct?
That is correct. The Row High School tennis courts are the only ones right now that don't have any lights. Okay.
And then my last question is the air purification system. Assuming that the purchase order is written and the product is delivered, how long will it take us for our crew to install all these versus, I mean, well, what do you anticipate it's going to take to put these in all of our buildings?
The vendor estimated a lead time of maybe at the most 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks to get us all the units in. There are some units that are already in stock that can give us a head start on the installation. The installation is not that hard. It's low voltage wiring that they just got to connect up and put the system within the unit. We've got all the units down by the serial numbers and model numbers that fit the tonnage. So it should not take us that long. I mean, if I was to guess, I'd like to do, 30 to 40 to 50 units a day, if possible.
Wow. Now that would also assume that throughout the district, we don't have any other kind of HVAC problems that we would have to shift our employees over, right?
Correct. No, we would not be, in other words, shutting anything off or anything like that. No, sir.
I just want to make sure that our staff and our parents understand that we're frugal about the timeline, that this is very important for everyone in our school district, and that the sooner we get this up and going, the more sense of security not only our staff have, but our parents have in sending their kids to school.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. No further questions.
All right. Thank you, Trustee Suarez. Any other questions? Trustee Vela?
Yes, sir. Thank you, President Alvaro. And it's the follow-up on the air purification systems, Mr. Trevino. A couple of questions. What specifically do these air purification systems do? Can you give us an idea of what it wipes out, what it doesn't wipe out? What kind of security that Mr. Trustee Suarez was talking about can we be sure of?
The GPS 48 AC, which is the main one that we're installing, it's pretty much a compact unit, self-cleaning, that requires no maintenance. It's a bipolar ionization system that will allow for the installation where other products will not fit. You know, the unit is pretty much designed with different mounting options. We can go with it on the fan inlet. We can go with it on the interior wall or on the interior floor of the duct area or the coil area. It's an all composite carbon fiber construction that allows the unit to be mounted in any environment, regardless of any corrosive chemicals or anything that is in our system. Now, as far as what the GPS has been tested on, it has been tested on the COVID-19 virus. We have the test results that were provided to us. Within 10 minutes, 84.2% of the virus was inactivated. Within 15 minutes, 92.6% of the virus was inactivated. And within 30 minutes, 99.4% of the virus was completely inactivated. And these are needlepoint bipolar ionization system products that are out there right now. And the pricing has dramatically gotten better over the last 6 months, I want to say. So we vetted all these systems, Ms. Benavides, myself. We've gone over the different types available, and we decided that we were not going to go with anything that could not provide us with the actual data that shows what we needed them for. Now, these systems are also going to help with any of our other viruses that are out there, such as staph, influenza, flus, any of that. It's good for all of that. So in the long run, this will help our attendance and every other aspect of it, especially, to increase our attendance rates as well.
Okay, thank you. Is it one unit per building, and will it handle all of the air volume in that particular building? We have buildings of different sizes, different air volumes, different air speeds going through there. Will one unit take care of one building?
We ordered 2 different types of models. One model that goes only up to 3,000 square feet or 3 tons. And the bigger model that we're installing will cover up to about our 12-ton units that we currently have. So we may have an elementary school that may require 6 of the bigger units, 7 of the bigger units, and maybe 2 of the smaller ones. We have a lot of portable buildings with split systems. For example, Gonzalez, Milam, some of our portable buildings at staff development. Those portable buildings with the type of system and the size that they have are gonna take the smaller system that goes up to 3 tons. So we're working with two different models.
Okay, well, just doing my quick math, you're talking hundreds of units. What does each unit cost?
Right now, we ordered approximately 990. I want to say 990 units, which was our first order. This order will cover all of our elementary schools and our middle schools and high schools. We are covering all of the larger areas with hallways, larger areas meaning cafeterias, auditoriums, dressing rooms, larger congregation areas. And then our second phase to this is going to be the smaller areas in our bigger secondary schools.
And the cost?
The cost on these, we're looking at around $430 per unit on the big one. And on the small one, we're looking in a $240 range.
So the total price tag is?
Right now, for the first phase, I want to say that the total came in at $380,000.
Did this come to the board?
This is an item that is being purchased through a purchasing cooperative. We provided 4 quotes to our purchasing department, and that is how we procured these particular items to achieve better pricing and get it done much in a more faster, easier way, I guess.
But it did not come to the board, right?
I believe it does not have to go to the board. I don't know if purchasing can correct me on this, but this is equipment only that we're purchasing, and we are installing it ourselves.
I thought we had a max limit on purchases that had to go to the board after that limit. Steve, could you comment on that? Or anybody else that knows?
Is Alejandra Gonzalez available?
I'm here.
Thank
What my understanding is, what Ruben said, it did go through a cooperative, and I don't believe there's actual dollar limit to it's going through a cooperative because it does not have to be bid per se. It's going through a cooperative.
If I can, I think you're correct on that, but I think what Trustee Vela is saying, we have our own policy that any item over a certain amount comes to us for our review or our vote. But I think traditionally we've always brought it to the back to us. So anyway, with something we can discuss because I would at least like to maybe under a report that's where we're headed to.
And to follow up, thank you, President Alvarado. That was going with that. But where's this money coming from?
Right. Is it coming from CARES Act money, or where is that money coming from?
Yes, we have the availability of the money through the ESSER funding coming through the CARES Act.
But that CARES Act money goes into our general fund, and so you're taking it out of general fund, aren't you? Or is
Actually, the ESSER funding, the ESSER money is coming out of federal funding. It's federally funding because it is through the CARES Act, which is federal funds. So the budget will be set up in a federal fund, and purchase orders, requisitions will be processed through there, some payments through there also. So it will not be affecting our general fund.
All right, I'll just close with this comment. I just wish that purchases of that amount would come to the board for a vote, or for at least a ratification, if you would, please. Thank you, President Alvarado.
All right, thank you, Trustee Vela. Trustee Sandoval?
Oh, thank you. Trustee Vela covered all the questions I have, but again, it is my understanding that it's not units per campus. It's these units are going to be installed for every HVAC within a campus. So you have multiple HVAC systems. So you're going to have multiple installations, as you explained, Mr. Trevino. Is that correct?
That is correct, sir.
Okay. Now, getting back to the portable buildings that are going to be set up over at Lincoln, I guess, for staff. I noticed there's no covered area in between. Is that going to be added to that area? So because the doors just open straight out into the environment. And when we had these things set up over at STC for our students, there was a covered area in between the buildings. Is that being planned at this time, or is that another phase?
It's not planned at this particular time. And I want to say over at STC, there was one covered area, which was the area that was being used for outside the cafeteria. The rest of the portable buildings did not have any covered areas, only for the small part that you open the door and you walk in. But the actual, I guess, areas in between the portables were not covered. So, but we can certainly take a look at that for our future, being that it's going to be held for trainings and staff development, and there will be quite a bit of traffic at one point.
Okay. Just an observation.
Yes.
Getting back to the HVAC systems, the concern I have is that it would have been good to have been at least briefed. I do think that if it's going through a co-op, it doesn't require board approval, but I think at the very least, we should have been briefed to address the questions that Trustee Vela clearly, because I had several of his. He actually went in greater detail, and I appreciate that for a number of reasons. One is we're obviously aware, and so we get asked by the public, you're rushing to get children in school, and there are concerns with getting teachers back to school. Well, now we have information, and we say, well, yes, but this is what's going on to prepare the campuses. In addition to what's already been done with the immunizations, that's been covered with us earlier. So that is a thought and concern I wanted to share as well. I don't think, if I recall the procurement, if you're going through the co-op, it requires board approval, but I do think information would have been helpful. The other area is the ag farm or agricultural learning center. What's the time frame for that being completed? Is it still on schedule, short of 2 weeks, or what are we looking at in that regard?
On the agricultural learning center, is that correct, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yes, the agricultural learning center is. I mean, we've had some minor weather delays, but I want to say that it is on schedule. And there was a meeting held this morning with the city of McAllen, the contractor, and our design team on some of the utility work that the city's doing out there. And progress was made, and progress will continue.
And dealing with the tennis courts, Roe was mentioned, but I had understood in one of our conversations jointly with the city, there was discussion that STC and the city were interested at the tennis courts being updated with lighting and possible restroom facilities over at the Lincoln or Achieve Early College High School. Is that still being discussed, under consideration, or?
That would be on a meeting, I guess, with the city commission to see if there's any future plans or any funding that may be available for any joint effort.
Dr. Gonzalez, I think, has some information for us, sir. Dr. Gonzalez?
Here. Yes, one thing I did want to inform our board is that the purchase orders have not been issued. So we will come back with a more detailed explanation. This was our first attempt at a briefing to the board, and looking at it, we should have made it a separate item and not necessarily part of the facilities report. But I didn't want the board to think that we'd already issued the purchase orders, and this was our first attempt at having a discussion regarding the topic.
Okay, and you were talking about the air filters.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Okay, I thought you were talking about the tennis courts. I apologize. Okay, thank you.
I think Ms. Gonzalez just came on, and maybe she can give an explanation on the procurement process for this item.
Okay, before we get off that, let's finish the tennis courts discussion, just to make sure that we close this.
I apologize. I was on mute. What might we have to do with the doing anything with Roe or with Achieve Early College High School campuses?
On the tennis,
yes, tennis courts, sure.
On the tennis courts at both of those campuses, the Achieve Early College was resurfaced. I'm going to say roughly about 5 years ago. So those tennis courts are in excellent shape. The only thing that we're pending on those tennis courts is the lighting component, and possibly some bleacher area. And the road tennis courts are also in good shape. We would probably just need to add the lighting component to them as well.
Okay. And at this point, all of that you discussed that was completed and is now being prepared, those are all either TRE money or tax note money or maintenance money out of FMNO.
Correct.
So there's no additional funding or expenditures taking place at this time out of the general fund of any kind at this.
That is correct, sir. Everything is within our budgets.
And there's still federal funds that's forthcoming from the previous CARE Act, not the one that's being discussed today, but that still hasn't been spent and we still haven't received at this time. Is that correct?
I want to defer that to Ms. Richards. I don't know if the second round of ESSER funds are out or not.
No, sir. The second round of ESSER funds are not out yet. We do know they are coming. The state hasn't indicated to the districts how they will be spent, whether there'll be a supplanting issue or supplemental issue on those. So we are not clear on what's happening with what they're referring to, the Carissa or the ESSER 2. And in addition to that, we do have, that would be the, like I said, that would be the Carissa, the ESSER 2. And we do have a possible ERISA 3 based on President Biden's plan.
Okay.
The 2 was based on President Trump's plan.
All right. And those monies are still available, so they haven't even been expended or even received by the district.
We have not received them, sir.
All right. So the funds that we're talking about here for these air units to make sure the air is purified so our children and teachers can return to the campus, that's coming out of a funding, that ESSER fund, and not coming out of our general fund or TRS or tax note of any kind.
The funding for the air filters or ventilation will be coming out of the ERSA, which is the Elementary and Secondary Schools Emergency Fund, which is a federal fund, and it will not be coming out of the general fund.
And the monies can only be targeted and used for certain circumstances like this.
Yes, sir. And these would qualify as allowable expenditures.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I don't have any other questions, Mr. President.
All right, thank you, sir. Trustee Bonilla, Trustee Aliceda, or Trustee Espasa? Any questions?
Just a point of clarification, sir. I do believe that we had discussions on the ionized filters at our last meeting that we had here at Mac High. Although there was never a directive to proceed, we have discussed them here.
Okay. Any other questions?
I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Trevino, you said this was part of that cost. What did you say it was? A little over 300,000 or close to 400,000?
That is correct, sir. We're looking at 726 units of one model number at the cost. And we're looking at 222 units of the smaller amount.
And so you said this was phase 1, basically, is what you said, right?
Correct.
And that total was how much?
We're looking in the range of 380,000, give or take.
And so phase 2, what are you looking at for phase 2?
Phase 2, I want to say that we're going to stay possibly within the $150,000 to $200,000 range to finish off all of our buildings, and that is currently being assessed as well.
That's close to $600,000.
Yes.
I have a question for Ms. Richards. Ms. Richards, you mentioned some of where this money is coming from, but that first round of that ERISA money, that's not. Somebody speeding through my neighborhood. That's not additional funds for the district. That's just that's supplemental. It's not supplemental funds, right? It's just to replace what we've lost or what?
She's coming off mute.
Okay, yes, sir. Yes, sir. There we go. Okay, the ESSER money for the air filters and ventilation that Mr. Trevino is referring to is actually additional monies for the district, and we do have approximately a little over $500,000 that we can apply to those particular needs.
And none of that money has been earmarked for anything else?
No, sir. These are available for this project.
You say we have approximately 500,000?
Remaining of that funding. The funding was actually a little over $8.8 million. And we have a little over $500,000 that we can apply to this particular project.
And you say these were additional funds? I always thought you told us in the past these were not additional funds. These were just funds that replaced money they took away, but not additional.
Yes, sir. What they did is we ended up using this particular monies to cover some particular compensation costs that we had. And at the time, there were some equitable services requirements for this particular funding. And between the time the funding was issued and now, there have been changes in terms of that particular component, equitable services component, and that has freed up money to the tune of $500,000. And now we are able to use it for this type of a project.
But again, I guess maybe I'm making myself clear. Is this additional funds or is it just replacing funds that we lost somewhere else?
Yes.
Guess what?
Yes, sir. They were going to cover current cost. I think was that Ms. Felix on the line?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
go
that's
ahead.
me. If I may. Okay, so originally we were to get $8,700,000, and it was going to be a state funding reduction. They did increase that allotment to $9 million, and they reduced our state dollars by that amount. However, Miss Richards is correct in the fact that previously they were going to have a requirement to spend almost $446,000 to private nonprofits surrounding in our city limits. However, they negotiated, they brought it down, and we were only then to commit about $34,000 to that private nonprofit. So basically reducing the amount of money that could be used for other projects that qualify under ESSER. But yes, it was a swap in the state funding, but restricted the money that could be used, and they are able to be used for these air filtration systems.
And I guess that was my question. You finally answered it. It was just a swap. It's not additional funds that we had picked up anywhere.
Correct, but we were able to pick up, I guess the excess comes from where it was previously committed to the private nonprofits is now committed to projects that we can use in response to COVID.
That's all I have, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Suarez. I'm sorry. Thank you, Trustee Espasa. Trustee Suarez?
So two things, just really quick, because we're on this topic. On the SR2 funding that's coming, Ms. Richards, I don't want to say the dollar amount. I know it's a huge amount because I've read into it. And I know that specifically it talks about the schools can use that money to upgrade their HVAC and their filtering systems. It's considerably 4 times as much as we got already. But my question is, on the first CARES Act, we're allowed to spend that money on HVAC or filtering systems. Am I correct?
Yes, sir. And we're referring to the ESSER 2?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that correct? Okay. For the ESSER 2, also called the Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriations Act, or CRRSA. Some of the things they're targeting is for schools to spend on, of course, fully supporting the reopening of K-12. They're looking at facility continuity of learning, addressing the learning loss, identify and remediate students who have fallen behind, measuring student progress, improving school facilities and infrastructure to reduce the risk of transmitting the coronavirus, the purchase of educational technology, repair ventilation systems, yes sir, there we are, and provide tutoring services for students. That is what we know right now that they are targeting with the ESSER 2.
Perfect. And then just a comment for Dr. Gonzalez and for the administration. My suggestion, because I know in talks with the city and with STC, is that maybe we can leverage something with STC, because I know they wanted to use our courts, that maybe we can do an MOU, that they would provide the lights so they could use them for their classes. And that would take care of the early achieve, and maybe talk to the city about doing an MOU with the roll facility, and we would kill two birds with 1.5 stones instead of 2 stones. But it's something really we should negotiate with them. So, and that's all I have.
All right, thank you, Trustee Suarez. Going last, always you always get through my questions, but I still have a few more, so please bear with me. Just on the air purification, I think we covered it already. Just to restate that Dr. Gonzalez said that they would come back. I have it down for another board agenda item for our next meeting, March 8th, so we can give an update to the board on second phase and what have you. I think we also heard from more than 1 or 2 board members that while y'all definitely can go administration, absolutely can go out to bids through the buy board or through any other mechanism, I think it's probably good practice if we at least discuss it in board meetings. That's my opinion. I know Trustee Vela, Trustee Sandoval said the same thing, just so we're informed. So enough on that. I'll bring it back. I'll make sure we have it on the agenda for March 8th. I did want to ask Mr. Trevino or Dr. Gonzalez. I know last week's weather event was pretty destructive. At some point, we had 10 schools out with lighting. Did we have any damage in any schools with water pipes bursting? Any issues with electricity or anything that I'm pretty sure y'all fixed it, but I'm just curious to see how we fared last week.
As far as major water damage, we had none. We did have a couple of water leaks, but they were for the most part either in a mechanical room or in the exterior of the buildings, and those have been repaired. On the electrical side, it was mostly on the AEP side and some areas dealing with some of our breakers. Our HVAC units started getting cranked back up on Friday, and this morning back up again, and we have seen minor issues to this point.
Awesome.
We did have staff work last week. FMO staff came in and worked 5 hours on Monday, 5 hours on Tuesday, and then we worked 3 10-hour days to complete the 40 hours. And within those 3 10-hour days, we prepped up all the facilities. We prepped up all of our backflow systems. We left faucets dripping inside and out buildings. And by saying FMO, I mean custodial, facilities, and warehouse. We all worked together and tried to secure buildings the best we could for the weather event that we had.
Absolutely. I know you have some people clapping here, and I just want to say I saw some of your staff working, and they were dealing with their own issues at their house, probably no power, no water, and yet they were still coming to work and addressing the issues. And so just want to thank you for that, Mr. Trevino, and all your staff and the custodian staff for doing what you do. And Dr. Gonzalez, thank you for extending or canceling school last week. I know we had a lot of schools that had a lot of power issues. And I know a lot of citizens of McAllen and the students were appreciated the fact that they could just concentrate on staying warm and doing what they need to do. So thank you for that. Just a couple real quick things on the press spot project. When do we anticipate starting, and when's the end date? Or how soon would that project be completed?
The design team is currently working with our city as well as our construction manager at risk that is on contract in getting the guaranteed maximum price. Once we have that in writing, we will start seeing dirt moving and our foundation and so on and so forth. I want to say that we're probably a good 3 weeks away from there. I know that there's several meetings scheduled with the fire marshal's office, different planning offices within the city to try and look at the different areas or scope of work, such as the staircases and so on and so forth, to see how we can minimize any of our costs and get the best value for both the district and the city.
Okay. And how long will the project take to complete once y'all get going?
At this point, I really don't have an actual date or set time. But here in the next 3 to 4 weeks, we should have a more accurate timeline that we can go by.
And I just if it takes longer into next year and it affects whatever season it is of use of the stadium, I'm okay with it. I think we just need to communicate that. That's just my opinion. So that's the only reason why I'm asking. I'm not trying to rush. I'd rather make sure it's done right.
I know one big item that came out of our meeting this morning on that particular project is that we're, I guess, in a way lucky that we're not actually getting the actual materials right now, because the price of metal has pretty much nearly doubled in price. And this particular project is all structural steel, and we're lucky that we're not at that point right now. So if we can, hold off another 3, 4, 5 weeks and start pursuing that part of the scope of work, we may be able to maybe go back to some more natural prices.
Awesome. Well, just keep us updated on that too, and just I think we're all, city and us, are working hard to make sure we're staying within budget on that press box. So thank you for that update. On the Agricultural Learning Center, it's just I know there's been tons of other stuff, but I would like to see us, maybe in the summertime or whenever it's appropriate, to go after naming rights. I know with the scoreboard, we were able to see that project come through where it was funded by sponsors and we didn't have to spend any money. So if we could possibly do the same thing with agriculture, take a spin on it and possibly do some naming rights, that'd be something. At least I think it's worth some time. But I know we have tons of things on our project. And I'm looking at you, Dr. Gonzalez. So I'm not trying to put any more additional. But hopefully at some point we could do that. And then I think the other one was the baseball fence at McAllen. Mr. Trevino, that fell for a reason, right? There was a weather event that caused that.
Excuse me, sir. What was that?
The baseball fence at McAllen, did a weather event cause that?
Yes, that was caused by the hurricane. Correct.
Oh, okay. So did we have any money to help us pay for that, or how does that work?
No, that is something that we pretty much have it. We used our maintenance budget. It's
Okay.
something that we knew season was coming up on us, and we needed to get that repaired ASAP, and we made it happen.
I saw that. Thank you for that. And just on a side note, Mr. Suarez just walked by, wants to name the fence after him because he played baseball. That's not true. He sat on the bench. He didn't even hit nowhere, never got near the plane on the field. So don't listen to him. Any other questions or comments?
No.
All right, y'all, great report. I know it's been a while since we discussed that, so we appreciate the time. Mr. Trevino, great job as always. 13B was pulled, and its approval of competitive pulled number 2021-1015 Central Utility Plant Upgrades Pecan Heights Phase 2. Trustee, I said that you pulled it for some questions. Did you want to discuss it, or do you want me to turn it over to administration?
I can ask the question,
Sure.
and I should have asked it in committee meeting. My apologies for that. The money, is it coming from TRE or from the tax maintenance note?
Maintenance tax note, ma'am.
Okay, that was my question, but you can present if you'd like.
Any questions from the board? That's a great clarification. Trustee Vela, yes, sir.
Thank you, President Alvarado. I noticed in the rankings that there was a significant swing from high to low, and the higher ones were more bunched or closely bunched together as opposed to the bid at the low end. Are we good with that? I mean, it was a substantial difference below the other ones. Mr. Trevino, I don't know if you want to speak to that or not.
Yes, sir. There is a difference, like you mentioned, Mr. Vela, in speaking with our design team and having several meetings with Mr. Murray, going over the scope of work, going over the numbers. The contractor that ranked the highest, that came in with a low price, submitted their best and final proposal, which is that same price that is there, and guaranteed pretty much in writing that they have not missed anything. They're using quality subcontractors that they listed, and that they are ready for the job. So Mr. Murray, myself, met again on it, met with Ms. Benavides as well. And this is a critical component. We're hitting it at the right time. I think there's a lot of people hungry out there for work. And this is what McHigh has been needing for quite some time. I want to say they've been in dire need of heat out there for at least 20 years. So this is needed, and I think we're getting it at a good price as well. We do have plans and specifications that are signed, sealed. We will have project administration going on like we do on all of our projects, and Mr. Murray's staff is highly knowledgeable in this particular area with their design team, and they've agreed to be out there and helping us out like they do with all of our other projects that they're contracted for, to hold the contractor accountable and make sure that everything gets done the right way.
Okay, thank you for that. Real quick, broad strokes, what are you doing to the plant?
On the on this particular phase, we are changing out the main fans. Right now, McAllen High School, the most of the air is generated by two big fans. One is a 200 horsepower fan. The other is a 60 horsepower fan. When one of these huge fans goes out, we pretty much experience whole half of the school that goes out, and we have to, get out there, get a purchase order, get a contractor in and repair it. These fans are pretty much old already. We're now coming back with fan walls to replace the 60 horsepower fan, blower fans. We're coming in with a fan wall with, I believe, 7 or 8 fans within that wall. So if one particular fan goes off, you've got the others that are still working. Okay. On the 200 horsepower fan, we're coming in with, I want to say 15 to 16 fans in that fan wall. So that's going to give us a whole lot of redundancy and pretty much no downtime at all. We're also coming in with new coils for the whole HVAC system, new filter frames. We've got new piping in the mechanical room. We also have a brand new big outside air unit, which is needed at the high school. We also have a new boiler component that's going to provide us the heating for the whole school with new pumps and piping as well.
All right, thank you, Mr. Trevino. I hope you can keep the contractor to that number, sir. Appreciate it.
We will try our best.
Mr. President, I move to approve.
I have a motion for approval, and I have a second. Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much.